Let us pray. Almighty God, the creator and ruler of heaven and earth, we beseech thee to inspire and guide all our actions so that we may always walk in the path of justice, love, and charity to one another. Help us with thy grace to do only those things that will promote the unity, peace, happiness, and prosperity of Nigeria in general and Lagos State in particular. Amen. Good morning, distinguished colleagues. You are all welcome to today's sitting, though an urgent one. Let us quickly go through the votes and proceedings of Monday, 5th October 2020. Page 226, 227, 228, 229. I have examined the votes and proceedings of Monday, 5th October 2020, and approval is here granted. Honorable Naim, please approach. Any message from the governor?
Right, Honorable Speaker, sir. Distinguished Honorable Member, there are no message from the governor, sir.
Any other announcement?
Right, Honorable Speaker, sir, there are no announcements.
Petitions, there is petition, just hold on to it, we'll come back to that. Matter of urgent public importance, Honorable C. Yusuf.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, my colleagues. Yesterday was a bad Thursday for the people of my constituents and also Lagos State in general. When a gas plant in Barua exploded and consumed so many lives and properties. Mr. Speaker, if you can remember vividly, on the 8th Assembly, a motion was brought to the floor of the House concerning the many bad sighting of petroleum and gas plants in residential areas. What happened in Barua yesterday was exactly what we wanted to prevent at that very period. Mr. Speaker, what happened yesterday was a saddened one. In the fact that you see your constituents inside a terrible fire and see them crying without any help. Mr. Speaker, the siting of gas plants in residential areas should be condemned. And those who were found to be behind this siting of approval on this site should be brought to book, because lives could not be recovered. Here about the properties, but what lives? We represent the people. And that is why you took proactive action at that very period, so as to prevent this ugly situation. Mr. Speaker, my prayers is for the government to call on the fiscal planning, the governor to call on the fiscal planning to curb the approval of gas plants in the residential area. Also, the existing one that fall within residential area, Mr. Speaker, there should be an inventory of all these petroleum and gas plants in residential areas. If approval has been given, let them withdraw the approval, because property is not as valuable as lives. That's number one, Mr. Speaker. For those who are aiding and abetting of citing these ones, they should be brought to book. Again, Mr. Speaker, I also urge the government to compensate adequately the victims of Barua explosion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Tebitokwa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Good morning, colleagues. Mr. Speaker, about 2 weeks ago, we had this same gas explosion in my local government. To be precise, in my ward, right next to my constituency office. Mr. Speaker, this occurrence has been happening one too many times, with scores of lives lost. Mr. Speaker, there must be a way to end this menace in the state. We cannot continue to have people lose their lives over negligence or recklessness of those who are trying to earn a living or make a living for themselves. Mr. Speaker, you remember in this House, Honorable Mujima Koli also spoke about the gas explosion in our place, and it's been happening. This is the second time in Alimosho as well. The same way it happened in Ifakojaya, Ojokoro. For how long do we want to continue to talk about this on the floor of the House? Mr. Speaker, the relevant authorities, Physical Planning, Safety Commission, and those who have been issuing out to them permits to build in residential and densely populated areas, they must be called and be brought to books. Mr. Speaker, I also want to join Honorable Bisi Yusuf to say that this has to stop. My submission, sir.
Honorable Okola.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, this is another gas explosion too many. The increasing gas explosion in our state is assuming a worrisome trend and must be addressed frontally. Mr. Speaker, there is no smoke without smoke without fire. I want to say that we must continue to intensify education and sensitization of our people on the use of liquefied gas. For instance, some of our people does not know that cylinders carry expiry date. Some will expose their cylinders, to water, which will lead to corrosion and probably leakages. So we need education and sensitization. Again, Mr. Speaker, our town planners must wake up from their slumber. The Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development must wake up. Our VIOs must be alive to their responsibilities. Tankers some are roadworthy, yet they ply our roads in Lagos State. The physical planning gives approval indiscriminately without considering the life of the people. Densely populated areas, you will see gas outlets, gas stations, dotting everywhere that are densely populated. We must stop this. Proliferation of substandard cylinders are everywhere. So our SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria, has a responsibility in this respect. Mr. Speaker, DPR, MPPUD, Ministry of Information, VIO, should intensify sensitization and strict enforcement of our regulations. Operators of gas plants in densely populated areas should be immediately moved to safer locations. And I also want to recommend, sir, that a high-power task force, because this is one too many. We have discussed it here. There have been incidences of gas explosion, taking off the lives of our people. But more than ever before, Mr. Speaker, we must attack this one frontally with all seriousness in order to abate this untoward trend. I say that a high-power task force must be put in place, must be commissioned to identify all gas outlets, licensed or unlicensed, in order to sieve the chaff from the wheat and to enforce our laws. Going forward, Mr. Speaker, all unlicensed gas operators should be shut down and prosecuted, while those in densely populated areas be moved to safer locations. SON should wake up also to identifying substandard cylinders and enforcing strict compliance and measures in order to curb and reverse the ugly trend. Mr. Speaker, on the final note, I want to say that every vending domestic gas operators must be compelled to provide at least one handheld detectors in their outlet or in their station, and must provide water and fire extinguisher in their respective gas outlets. On this note, I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I also want us to frontally and with all seriousness address this issue that is
Honorable
that is
Kayode
worrying us
Joseph.
in- Thank you, sir.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker. The incident of yesterday, October 8, 2020, was very, very unfortunate. At the beginning of this year, we had similar thing around Alimosho that has to do with pipeline vandalization. Lots of lives were lost. It happens in Ifakojayi and several areas within the Lagos State. It has to be stopped. Yesterday alone, over 8 people's lives were lost, properties destroyed. Are we going to continue on this? No. At this house, we move a motion in respect of these unwarranted excesses of those people that were in charge. It's not that we don't have the laws. It had many laws that has to do with gas, petroleum, and name it. But unfortunately, the problem has to do with the regulators. Talking about the law enforcement agencies, those that supposed to do the needful that refused to do it. And every time we continue to lose lives. So, especially in our local government and Limosho Federal Constituency, it's becoming a regular occurrence. Hardly any day, someone will just call you around 5 or 3 or 4 a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning, that it has happened again. And if you look what is going on within the neighborhood now, some people will even have a shop and he'll be selling gas, refilling gas. And besides that particular person, you'll be seeing another people selling food. The food sellers will be there. They don't care about their lives. As they have all said, the DPR were also culpable because the license used to come from them too. So it is a tripartite agreement in respect of the license for the operation of the gas in the state. They get approval from the federal to the state, then probably to the local government. The Right Honorable Speaker, sir, we need to focus our attention more on those regulators. If possible, whosoever that issues the license, when it happens, if you don't do the needful, should be prosecuted. And permit me, sir, it has to do with us, apart from the gas explosion, the recklessness of tankers drivers too has to be tamed and nipped in the bud. Look at what happened. At times people will be saying that it has to do because our roads are bad. The one that happened at Otedola was not happened just because the roads were bad, because of the recklessness of the drivers and stupidity of those people that are driving it. So I'm going to leave my own in conclusion that the House should also call on whosoever, probably at the federal government, that the DPR, they must come to terms with what needs to do, at least to save lives. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Fatai Moji.
Good morning, sir, and fellow colleagues. The issue of the gas explosion, it has become recurrent decimas in our state. This first one that we witnessed this year was the one that happened at Amuwo-Odofin, where many properties were being destroyed, loss of life, and the second one was the one that took place at Ifakojaye. The recent one is the one reported by Honorable Bisi Isu that took place yesterday. Many properties were being destroyed and loss of life. Fellow colleagues, I believe the procedures in issuance or giving approval for the location or establishment of gas station is faulty. I am of opinion that the process needs to emanate from the state to the federal because we are the controls of the land. Because the statistic report shows that 80% of the gas stations we have in the state are being located in residential areas, which is against the law passed by this House. I'm of opinion that we need to call on the federal government to change the mode of giving approvals to the operators. Thank you.
Lastly, Honorable Shao, a few minutes, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to condole with the families of those that lost their life in this ghastly, I don't know whether to call it accident. Well, it's an accident, but more of negligence. I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have said, but I think in addition to what they've said, Lagos State would have to give approval because the state is in charge of plumbing permits. I have reliable information to tell you that that plant has no approval, no state approval. Even if they have DPR approval, which I doubt DPR will give an approval in the air without a location. So what we need to do is that, like one of my colleagues already said here, every single plant that does not have approval should be shut down. The second one is that, apart from those that have approval, these accidents could happen. Health and Safety Commission of Lagos State must regularly go into those places to ensure that they are complying with the necessary regulation. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you all for your contributions. Incidents of fire from gas plants, petrol tankers has become usual thing in our states, as we have rightly observed. And I think we can't fold our hands. It is our responsibility to protect lives, particularly lives before property. As being put by Honorable Bisi, you see, well, property can be restored, but not life. So it is our duty to ensure we protect the lives of our people. And how do we go about that? Fine, relating to this, we do not have the breakdown, the accurate information as to how these plans are being approved and what should be done and how they are being supervised. So it is necessary to allow our committee of the, particularly Committee on Special Duties, to look into this, to engage the appropriate authority and the operators so that we can get true pictures. We can get the true pictures of what has been happening in this relating to fire incidents. So I want us all just one to commiserate with the people of Alimosho and the families of the deceased, and to rise and observe a minute silence in honor of the dead ones, the incident that happens in Ifakojaye, now Alimosho. So the committee we grant the committee 1 week to carry out this investigation and report back before we decide on what to do. So may we rise and observe 1 minute silence in honor of the departed souls in the fire incident that happened in Ifakojaye and Alimosho. Mr. Clark, kindly do the timing. May their souls rest in perfect peace. Now, having done that, we skipped the petitions, which was supposed to be read by the clerk, because those that brought the petition were here to join us in the gallery. We were here till midnight yesterday, and that was what prompted the sitting of today. As you can recall, that we adjourned till Monday. But just the germane issue about the petition has to do with what we just discussed on the fire incident that happened. It's also all about lives, protecting the lives of our people. But this time around, it's from different direction. But before we go deeply into that, I will allow the clerk to read the petition being submitted to me yesterday, which I also acknowledge the, what is it called? The copy attached to it. So, Mr. Clerk, can we go back to the petitions?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, sir, distinguished honorable members, we received a letter addressed to the Right Honorable Speaker dated 8 October 2020 from GAVO, a non-profit, non-governmental organization. With your kind permission, sir, I read. The Right Honorable Mudashiru Obasa, the Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly, Alausa Ikeja. Dear sir, petition against the activities of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SAS. The above named named is not for-profit non-governmental organization with the aim of increasing the pace of justice delivery by tracking court cases, promoting transparency and accountability, providing legal support for victims of human rights abuse, advocating for the rights of indigent Nigerians. In spite of various reforms announced by the Inspector General of Police, cases of abuse of citizens by operatives of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad have increased without any step taken by the High Command of the Nigerian Police Force to address the fundamental problems of the impunity of operatives of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. While we continue to witness the unpleasant consequences of the crime-fighting strategy of the force that promotes extrajudicial and extra-legal measures, extortion for self-enrichment and lawlessness, the non-adherence to the prescription of the law poses greater consequences for ordinary citizens who are the victims of the brutality of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad. Considering all this, we hereby demand a total disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad and the identification of cases of extrajudicial executions, torture, and ill treatment that have caused death or severe injury to the subject to be subjected to independent, prompt, impartial, and thorough investigations, and officers reasonably suspected of criminal responsibility be brought to justice. This must include superior officers who knew or should have known of officials under their command resorting to unlawful use of force and firearms, if they did not take all measures in their power to prevent, suppress, or report such use. In the spirit of fairness, justice, and tranquility for victims, both the dead and alive, we also demand an adequate compensation for citizens who many come open with verifiable evidence of their ordeal in the hands of these authorized criminals, called FSAs. We demand a list of officers that have been held culpable, which should be published, and transparent prosecution of all guilty officers. We demand a public inquiry on the activities of the unit in the past 1 year, duly published in the media. We demand unjust harassment. We demand that unjust harassment, extortion, and intimidation of youths by Nigerian police should stop. We demand that tags on all policemen with names and details. No policeman should be found in civil wear while on duty with a gun. They must always be in their complete gear. Digital mediums for tracking cases with the police. We demand that all SARS cells across Nigeria be open for independent investigators to look into cases of detainees. It is our sincere hope that our demands are attended to speedily without levity. Sir, the letter was signed by many individuals, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. This is the petition that was submitted last night, and it's being signed by a number of people. Some of them are with us this afternoon. The Deputy Speaker was also in attendance yesterday before I came in to address them. Deputy Speaker, can you?
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the privilege. And I will also thank you for acting like a statesman that you are, that out of your busy schedule, you still found time, 12 midnight, at your earliest convenience, to address our brothers and sisters who
are engaging in peaceful protest for their rights. Let me say that protest are an inherent encouraged by democracy. You will also recall that this is not the, all over the world there are various protests. The Martin Luther King of this world, they led protests for the rights of the blacks, the women, the right to vote, and what have you. In Nigeria, there have been serious protests against petroleum price increment, against military rule, and what have you. So today, yesterday, when I was called by the Chief Security Officer of the House, the sergeant at time that we had people protesting, especially our youth. We've read all of this in the newspaper, and we want to tell them that we are on their side. And I also want to say that for all they have written, we are in support. And maybe I should reiterate in case so that it can be in a way we'll pass the motion and send our resolution to the appropriate authority. Let me say that they've acted well, because it is one of our leaders, Professor Gole Soyinka, that said, the man died in him, he will keep silent in the face of tyranny. So it is on that basis that I'm going to adumbrate and represent, as it were, all their demands, that this House should call on the Commissioner of Police of Lagos State to protect the protester and ensure that they are not molested. That the Commissioner of Police in Lagos State should also stop the unwarranted molestation of our youth by SARS, either the federal or the state SARS. That we call on our governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to engage relevant institutions in the state to protect our Lagos youth and stop the confiscation, extortion, and taking of phones, laptops, and other means of communications from these innocent youth. They should also not be molested based on their fashion statement, either the hair, their style of hair, or the kind of dress they wear, because it is their right to be so dressed. You will recall that maybe when we were growing up, it was so convenient to wear labu. We buy the big with 7 or 20 inches shoes. Later it was modified, because by the time you use that for 3 months, you have to replace them. Also, we should call on the Senate President, His Excellency Senator Ahmed Lawan, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives to institute public probe on the extrajudicial activities, killing, maiming, extortion, and dehumanization of our youth by SARS. That the victims be compensated and erring of officers be sanctioned appropriately. That SARS be proscribed and a new outfit which will be more efficient with code of conduct clearly spelled out be formed. We also call on Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, to ensure that culpable officers who will be recommended for sanctions are appropriately sanctioned. So those will be my prayer. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Victor Akode.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Good afternoon, my distinguished colleagues. It is true that the Constitution established the police force. It is also true that the Police Act and all other statutes gave power for them to arrest, stop, and search. But it is also in the Constitution that Section 33 With the kind permission of Mr. Speaker, I would like to read. Section 33, fundamental rights. Every person shall have right to life, and no one shall deprive intentionally of his life, save in execution of sentence of a court, in respect of a criminal offense. We have other section there. Again, section 34, read, right to dignity of human person. Section 35, state of right of to liberty. And section 35 and 36 is clear. Fair hearing. But what the police are doing, we salute their courage of trying to help us in achieving one of the sections of the Constitution that talks about the protection of life and property. But when these are derailed to the extent where human dignity and right to life is threatened, then there is a problem in the polity. On this note, sir, the police are trying. We salute them. They can't be removed easily. We don't want them to be removed. SARS is doing wonderfully well, but we need to look into their acts and correct the anomalies that give them overriding power to do and undo. Our citizens have died extrajudicial killings. Many of our youths are wasted away because of the unscrupulous element in the police force. Sir, it is high time we find a means of trying as much as possible to make sure that the Nigerian legislators, especially the National Assembly, look critically into the laws and where necessary amend, because we have wasted away a lot of youth. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Desmond.
Thank you, my Right Honorable Speaker. Good morning, honorable colleagues. The Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to align myself totally with the prayers of the Deputy Speaker as far as this petition is concerned. I also want to express my heartfelt condolences to the families and to the lives that were lost or that have been lost as a result of the nefarious activities of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, also known as SARS. I also want to commend our teaming youth for their peaceful protests that have been going on right now in various states of the Federation. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the activities of SARS, even though the intent of the unit being brought to life was to maintain security, have actually been taken the other way around. The extrajudicial killings, nefarious activities of SARS really have become something that we all need to watch out for. It has gone beyond just calling hotlines. It's gone beyond having reforms. The National Assembly, as the Deputy Speaker rightly said, really need to look into it. The IG of police seriously must consider we are working for the people. If the unit we've set up is not working for the people, and the people are calling for it to be disbanded, then let us do what they are saying. Because the truth is, you can't just arrest people along the road because of the hair they wear or they are carrying laptops. That is not to say we do not have bad people. But yes, because of the lack of training on how to deal civilly with people, we've now come to what we have, what SARS is today. So I totally am in alignment with what the prayers of the Deputy Speaker, and I feel that we should do that expeditiously. Thank you very much, sir.
Honorable Temitope.
Thank you once again, the Right Honorable Speaker. More than ever, I am proud to be youth. More than ever, I have seen the youth stand up for justice. Mr. Speaker, I want to commend the protesters for what they have done. They have done peacefully. Mr. Speaker, Section 14(2)(b) of our Constitution says the welfare and the security of lives shall be the primary objective and responsibility of every government. But those who are saddled with responsibility to protect us are the ones killing us. Mr. Speaker, for how long will this continue? I want to thank you very much for out of your busy schedule. You came through yesterday night. You met with the protesters. Not only that, and then you decided to have an emergency plenary so to hear this petition. Mr. Speaker, we say a big thank you. Mr. Speaker, we are tired of being harassed daily by those who are supposed to protect us. The government is the people. And if the people are saying we are tired of this SARS to be disbanded, so be it. Mr. Speaker, I also want to go with the prayers of the Deputy Speaker and say I'm in total correlation with it, and that will be my submission today, sir. Thank you.
Honorable Ajadi, are you the one that put out the law? Who? Jude. Honorable Jude. If your mic is not working, let's call another person.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my dear colleagues. I also want to support the motion on ground. However, I also want to say, if a better reform can be done, especially through the IG, to improve the police personnel and SARS in particular, I think that would be the way we should go. However, I know there was this slogan all of us known before now: police is our friend. The truth is that where has that slogan gone to? Police happens to be, all of us are from the same society. They are all Nigerians like us. However, we have also discovered that most people that found themselves in police force today, sir, are people that just unwillingly find themselves there, who from day one, I don't think most of them have the interest of joining police. But they join police because of the issue of unemployment in the society or in the country, Nigeria. However, the police IG should look at the process of recruitment of personnel that join police, both normal police and the SARS people. We don't just employ them because they want to work, but look at their attitude and other modalities they can use to ensure that those men or women or personnel we want to recruit have the interests of Nigerians at heart. For the youth, I think they are doing well. The protest is good. At least they are earning. They are trying to express their displeasure with the system. So our appeal to the police force to carry out this reform they are trying to do. SARS, as a body, totally they are not bad, but there are some bad elements that have really bring a bad image to the police force, which I believe the IG should look into. Thank you.
Yeah, lastly, Honorable Isha.
Thank you once again, Mr. Speaker. Well, I also want to commend our youths for the peaceful protest that was carried out yesterday. I was in it in VI, and they conducted themselves very well, but they're very determined, and they said what they wanted, and that's very commendable. And I also want to commend Mr. Speaker for calling this sitting. It deserves the urgency that you're giving it. SARS is supposed to be Special Anti-Robbery Squad. It's supposed to deal with robbers. So when they're carrying arms and they're facing armed robbers and they gun them down extrajudicially, we commend them. Great job. taking them out. Now they have turned the guns on our youth. They have turned the guns on us, ourselves. Nobody is safe. This must stop. I agree totally with all the points that have been raised, all the suggestions, the prayers that have been made. And in furtherance to that, I would like to say, no matter the system that evolves from the reform, if there are no consequences, no sanctions for misbehavior, then we'll be back to this again. I support what Deputy Speaker has read. I support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you all. To start with, let me commend our youth for the manner and conduct with which they have registered their agitation, which was peaceful. I was there yesterday night, and before me, others were also there to address them and pacify them. That's all they have raised will be looked into, and that's what we are doing. And also to commend our government. The Attorney General of the state was there, the Chief of Staff was there, and from the House we also had representative who met with the protesters. It shows our government in Lagos State is a responsive one, a listening one, and I commend all my colleagues who are here this afternoon. At a short notice, we are able to be here to address very, very important issue, key one out of our responsibilities, which we have just mentioned, that it's our duty to protect lives and property, and that is what we are doing here. So I have listened to the prayers of the Deputy Speaker, but we must go beyond that. We must go beyond that. As promised yesterday, that we ask our own committee of the House, we realize the fact that we have no control over the Nigerian police, but within our state, we can make efforts to address issues that are of concern to our people, particularly the youth. So we ask the Committee on Judiciary to address this petition by engaging the Commissioner of Police and the Attorney General of the states with the petitioners and with the NSA hashtag, if I'm right. So as we promised them yesterday, let us sit together and see how we can address some of their complaints, in addition with the prayers of the Deputy Speaker. Once again, I want to appeal to our youth again that continue in the manner you have chosen to register your observation, and that is in a peaceful manner. I want to tell you that you are not alone. The government of Lagos State is also with you, and we do everything possible to ensure that all concerns raised in your petition are addressed. So, Deputy Speaker, can we have your final prayer?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that the Commissioner of Police should protect the protesters and ensure that they are not molested. Two, that the Commissioner of Police in Lagos should stop unwarranted molestation of our youth by SARS, be it federal or state SARS. That we call on the Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to engage relevant institutions to protect the Lagos youth and stop the confiscation of phones, laptops, and other means of communication without warrant. That the Committee on Judiciary and Public Petition of the Lagos State House of Assembly to engage the Commissioner of Police and the Attorney General of the state with a view to fashioning out ways to treat this petition. That we also call on the Senate President, His Excellency Senator Ahmed Lawan, and the Speaker of House of Representatives, Right Honorable Bajabia Miller, to institute public probe on the extrajudicial activities, killing, maiming, extortion, and dehumanization of our youth by SARS. The victims to be compensated, and erring officials should be sanctioned appropriately. That SARS be proscribed and a new outfit, which will be more efficient with code of conduct and rule of engagement clearly spelled out. So let me take that again. That SARS be proscribed and a new outfit, which will be more efficient with code of conduct, rule of engagement, and sanctions for misdemeanor clearly spelled out be established. Call on Mr. President to ensure that officers who are culpable received the sanction as appropriate. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So moved. Honorable Kasum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion as moved.
All in favor say aye. Those against nay. The ayes have it. Mr. Clerk, kindly communicate the resolve of the House to appropriate quarters. Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. According to Section 101 of the Federal Republic of Nigeria Constitution, states that regulations of procedure. Subject to provisions of this Constitution, a House of Assembly shall have the power to regulate its own proceedings of the procedure for summoning and recess of the House. Harmonize rules and standing orders of the Lagos State House of Assembly. Order 4, Rule 18, 5 and 6. 5. On Fridays, the House may meet at 9 a.m. and if not previously adjourned, may sit until noon. 6. Without prejudice to the above, the House shall sit on such days as the Speaker, having regard to the state of the business of the House, may from time to time direct. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think that's the purpose why we are here today. And under motion of adjournment, I want to say that yesterday, out of your time, you promised the youth that you have an emergency today, and I want to say that you are your promise speaker. So under adjournment, we also have as business of the day is adjournment. So I want to move that this House adjourn the 12th of October 2020. I so move at 12 noon. I so move.
The Deputy Major. That was a nice one. Thank you. Yeah, Honorable Duredi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion as moved.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Those against the ayes have it. This House stands adjourned till Monday, 12 October 2020 at 12 noon prompt. I rise.